My name is Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video we're going to be talking about a few different things. The first couple of items are to do with Intel, and our final item of today is going to be about the Bethesda Creation Club, which has been a little bit controversial to say the least. But let's kick things off with our first Intel itinerary, shall we? As you may recall, back in 2009 there was an anti-competition case which concluded, and well, Intel has recently managed to get a retrial. Now, initially, Intel were ordered to pay a fine of 1.6 billion euros by the EU Commission, but basically, Intel are now attempting to obviously lower this fine, and the general courts are going to be re-examining all of Intel's arguments. And to be fair, given that this court case was so long ago, some of you might be scratching your head going, I must have missed this just before I got into gaming or whatever. Well, basically, Intel was found to be giving rebates to certain manufacturers like HP, Lenovo, Acer, etc. between 2002 and 2007 on the condition that at least 95% of their systems shipped with Intel CPU and had quote-unquote restrictive conditions opposed upon the other 5%. So basically, this put a pretty big stranglehold on AMD and prevented them from gaining any market share, despite the fact that obviously at the time they had the very first x86 CPU. And they also found during the case that Intel also made payments to the retailer MediaMarkt on the condition rather that they only sold Intel powered PCs. So basically AMD could even sell their PCs at this particular retailer, so they were just unable flat out to compete with Intel here. All of this was pretty damning, which is obviously why when it was originally concluded all those years ago that they were asked to pay 1.6 billion euros, and obviously Intel have now managed to get themselves a retrial, and they may drag this out longer before having to pay still, or they might actually find themselves with a different result. So we have a little bit of a statement here from the European Court of Justice, who says, quotes, the General Court was required to examine all of Intel's arguments, which the General Court failed to do. The Court refers the case back to the General Court so they may examine, in the light of arguments put forward by Intel, whether the rebates at issue are capable of restricting competition. So it seems that Intel are arguing like, okay, these rebates have happened, but they weren't enough to get these kind of numbers, 95%, blah, 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 blah. They wouldn't have actually restricted AMD all that much, etc., etc. You know, whether or not this changes anything, obviously time will have to tell. This has obviously been dragging on an obscene amount of time already, so it's probably going to be ages before we find anything out. But it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, I obviously missed this one myself. This was way before I got into PC gaming, really. So it's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Our next Intel item is actually regarding Coffee Lake. Now, you may recall in a previous video, Paul discussed how Coffee Lake would be releasing around October the 5th. And we've had a bunch of online sites listing the Coffee Lake CPUs for pre-order. No point mentioning pricing, they're all over the place, and obviously they're not really all that helpful when it comes to what the final price is going to be. But there's a bunch of retailers that have listed them, as I said. And they also give us a look at what could be the final specifications of Coffee Lake. So let's crack on with the i7-8700K, which is obviously going to be the flagship. It's obviously going to be 4.3 GHz, 6 cores and 12 threads. And it's going to be on the 14nm process node. Now obviously that 4.3 GHz is the boost, with the base frequency being around 3.7, and that performance is pretty damn impressive, especially considering that obviously it's coming with overclocking and TDP of 95 watts, and obviously we know that there's going to be 12 megabytes of L3 cache, as well as supports for DDR for 266 MHz memory and up to 4400 MHz up to overclock. Now again, pricing is going to be a bit of a guessing game, but Intel usually release around the same sort of price points, and we can reasonably expect that this will cost around $349 in the US. Next up on our list is the i5-8600K. It's going to have 6 cores, but no multi-threaded design, unfortunately. 9 megs of L3 cache, and obviously going to be on the LGA1151 socket. And of course, we are looking at a 3.5 GHz based and 4.4 gigahertz boost clocks, and once again a TDP of 95 watts. And a price tag which is actually not too shabby at $249. And of course the i3-8350K. And it is actually, or might actually be, very keen to stress that might, be the only Core i3 chip in this 8th gen family of Misfits that actually has overclocking support. So it has 4 cores, 4 threads, and going to be clocked at 4 GHz with 8 megs of cache. And once again, that 95 watt TDP. So with all that said, let's move on to our final, item of today, which of course is Bethesda. Now it's safe to say that the Creation Club has gone down with mixed reviews, shall we? It's got a lot of problems, and they're probably worthy of discussion in another video, but I'm kind of waiting for the dust to settle a little bit when it comes to Creation Club and seeing how Bethesda respond, and they have actually responded kind of as Pete Hines has commented on the response to the Creation Club itself. Now obviously there are many people, including myself, that have basically said this is a paid mod system under another name. And obviously there have been people saying, no, it's not because X, Y, and Z. And obviously it has pretty much revealed itself to be paid mods. And some of the promises that Bethesda made have kind of proven to be not quite true. Given the fact that, you know, they promised, hey, nothing that already exists is going to be on the Creation Club, you know, support for those free mods isn't going to disappear because the modders decided, hey, I would rather get paid, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. People are obviously very happy to donate to these modders, and rightfully so. A lot of these mods are pretty damn impressive, and obviously many modders have been hired as developers. But you've got a case of like, hey, there's this 40-pack of furniture for Fallout on the mod store for X amount, but you can get 1,000 pack for 3 on Nexus mods. That sort of thing is what's been going on, along with all the other issues that I'm not really going to go into. And in a conversation with Tech Syndicate, Pete was asked about their overall goal with mods into the future. And he said, quote, "We've been supporting mods and making the mod community grow and viable since 2002. We're going to continue to try and do new things. That's it. We're going to continue to try new stuff and see what works and what doesn't. We tried paid mods, it didn't work, allowing people to pay for the mods and have them be that long and all the stuff, all the problems we said, okay, we're not going to do paid mods." Then Tech Syndicate, whose channel I will link below, moved on to a quite interesting question, I think, in that, as I just pointed out, there are very similar mods, or basically the same kind of mods, but better quality on the likes of the Nexus for free, compared to, you know, paid on the Creation Club. And Hines said, quote, "Right, but that's subjective and not requiring you to buy Creation Club creations to continue playing the game you already own. It's no different than if there's a video game out there and you don't like it because you don't think it's as good as something else that's free to play, or some mod that somebody's doing. Then don't buy it. I don't understand what the problem is with that across all platforms. That's an offering that somebody has to buy because you also have the choice to not buy it. We've been supporting this for 15 years. It exists because we wanted it to. We put all the effort into the Creation Club. We continue to put tools out to make sure that modders could do that. We could have said a long time ago, no, you can only make these available through these." So I think we can agree there rather that he didn't really answer the question. I mean, he is right that the quality of a game or mod or DLC or whatever it happens to be is very much subjective and based upon your personal taste. But obviously there are some things that are just arguably better, like, you know, the 40-pack piece of furniture thing not being as good as the one that gives you 1,000, just for instance. I mean, it's furniture. You can't really say, oh, well, the 40-pack has a better selection of chairs. Well, no, because there's 1,000 pieces in the other furniture pack. Unless they're all tables. You kind of get where I'm going with this. But basically the TLDR of all of this is that people continue to make mods. They're obviously not going to shut down the free mods. They're obviously going to be continuing to support the Creation Club. Pete Hines doesn't really seem all that bothered by the backlash in these particular comments that he made in this video. So I'm not really shocked, you know. Bethesda are not going to throw up their hands and go, well, we tried it, we failed once again. Because while the response has been mixed, it's nowhere near as bad as when they did paid mods the first time. But, you know, that's kind of like saying being punched in the face is not as bad as a broken leg. You know, they both suck. I mean, if you had to choose between the two, obviously you take the punch in the face, but you'd rather have neither, is my point. So, you know, hopefully Bethesda will iron out some of the many issues with the Creation Club, but some of those issues, like there being arguably better quality mods available for free, is not going to be changed because, well, Bethesda are not going to shut down free mods because that would probably be a backlash that even they can outride. So, yeah, I don't think the Creation Club is going anywhere just yet, and it seems Bethesda are quite content to support this for a while. I mean, obviously it took them a while to even shut down the Skyrim mods a while back, so, you know, it wouldn't be this fast anyway. But again, the response, while mixed, has not been anywhere near as bad, at least from what I've seen. Obviously, I'm talking anecdotal data here. I don't have graphs available on hand, unfortunately. If anyone wants to make a graph, that would be real nice, but obviously you can't really graph subjective opinion, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, a bit of a non-answer kind of thing from Pete Hines there, but what do you really expect him to say? They've obviously poured a lot of effort into this, and it's not going anywhere, at least anytime soon. All we can hope for, really, is that it is made better than it is, because it could definitely be better than it is. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.